Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 33 lines down. Tanur Banan. Asher Tovad. When there's something that is lost, Perat La'avada She'en Basher Brutal. According to Tanakama, that means that you have to lose an item that's has a minimum worth of a peruta. Otherwise, it's not considered lost an item. You could keep it. Rida Merida says, and you found it, which means Perat La'avada She'en Basher Brutal to exclude something that you find that is not worth a Shabbat Pruta. Seemingly the same exact thing. So the Gemara asks, "My benai, what's the difference?" It's how they understand the pasuk. Each of them learned it from a different word. More nafkalemi ashret tavad. One Tanakama learned it from the first words of that you lost. More nafkalemi mitatan. One Rabbi learns it from the pasuk of you found it. Umanda nafkame ashret tavad hai motzata ma'avid lev. So whenever you have two people learning, two Tanaim learning from two different pasukim or two different wording from the extra words, they have to explain what they use the other extra of the other extra word of the other opinion. So, according to Hanakama, what does he learn with umsata? He holds what Rabbanai taught. The Amar Rabbanai says, umsata, the pasuk says that if you found it, the atala de mashma teaches you that even if you find something and you already pick it up, right? We know that you have to return it to a Jew, whether or not you pick it up. Let's say you pick it up and then you realize it's a goy. You might think that you have to return it. You do not have to return it to the goy. So that's what he learns with. According to Rida, who learns umsata to teach you the Shabbat Pruta. What does he do? What does he do to the other pasuk? Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Something that's swept by this river or by the sea. Shehi muteret ila rakibet. Shenana pasuk says kintas v'lecho aved achicha asher tovad mimenu umsata. Ma avodah she'avodah mimenu musatel adam. We had it before, just like that. Pasuk is teaching you that anything that's lost to him, but anybody else can find, gets tazu, that excludes something that's flooded away. She'avodah mimenu. And not everybody else is able to find it, and therefore you're able to keep it. According to Bida, where does he learn? How does he learn Rabbanai's concept of the goy? If you find the goy's item, he says he learns to teach you it. When Tanakama holds the Shabbat Pruta was used for that. How does he learn Rabbi Yochanan to teach you that the lost by rivers automatic keep items that not announcing? He learns from the word mimenu. What does he learn mimenu? Mimenu doesn't think that the word mimenu is extra. Okay, Rav Amar said the different answer completely. Pirutasha, who's like a banana? The difference between the two Tanakama and Rabbi is if it's a item that was worth, let's say, a piruta is 10 cents, it was worth 10 cents. By the time you found it, it was 8 cents. Mandamar Asher Tovad, according to Tanaka, holds that you lost something that's, if it's worth a piruta, you have to return it because it's worth 10 cents when you lost it. Mandamar Mutata, according to Rabbi learned that when you find it, like you don't have to return it because when you found it, it wasn't worth the piruta. Even according to the opinion who hold that you lost it, he would agree that you need to find something that's worth a piruta, and you don't have it. So how does that make sense? We knock him out. Now we're trying another answer. We're going to go the opposite way. Really, it's something that was worth less than a piruta, was worth 8 cents, then it became 10 cents when you found it. When you hold that you found it, it is worth 10 cents when you find it if you return it. When you lost it, it wasn't 10 cents when you lost it, and therefore you don't have to return it. Even according to the second opinion, you don't have the loss of 10 cents, and therefore it doesn't apply. So now we're going to give a third answer. So referring to a case where you lost something that was worth a piruta, then it was under a piruta, and then went back to a piruta. According to hold that you lost it. It's you lost the Shabbat Pruta, you found the Shabbat Pruta, counts. According to he found it, he would hold that you needed to retain and maintain the piruta minimum the entire time, and over here it does not happen. You buy the next question. We had this many times before. Now we're going to sit down and actually discuss it. We always danced around it. It's a siman. Returning something that you lost with a siman, is that a doraita or rabbanan? What's the difference? Lahadura get yishes min simanim. You have a return a get with a siman, a lost get. If it's the right, then you can return it because it's the right of siman. But if you say simanim when we allow you to use a siman If it's drabanan, that's for lemona, for money cases. But if it's the get, which is the isur, eshet ish, you can't play around with that. And therefore, if it's simanim drabanan, then you can't use it. Tashmas, bring proof. When we mentioned our Mishnah talking about the garment, we mentioned the garment, especially in the pasuk. Lakish that I have to teach you. We said that it has simanim and tovim claimants. يعني it belongs to someone. All things that have simans and tovin and claimants, you have to return. So we see siman is part of the process, and it is the doraita. Where says no, Tana tovin is tzricha. The Tana was trying to teach you the concept of tovin, the claimants, right? We said it yesterday that this item definitely belonged to someone. Simanat but they threw in simanim. Derech Agav, you just threw them in, but they're not necessarily as another option. But it doesn't mean that it's the Doraita. Tashma doesn't bring the proof. Hamor b'simane ukav. We said the hamor, you can return the saddle with the siman. So usually maybe siman does work with the Doraita. Ayma no, be'aide ukav, maybe it's smart witnesses. Not a siman. Another proof. Tashma. Ba'ya immecha ad-derosh achicha oto. The item shall stay with you until your brother looks for it. What do you mean? You're gonna return it to him? What's the pasuk telling you? When your brother reaches out to you, you give it to him. What does it mean? You're gonna give it to him beforehand? Obviously not. Allah must be pasuk teaching you that you have to check him out to see if he's a scam or not. He's trying to get an item from you. Is he lying to you or not? My last means obviously he's trying to say that you're using a siman to do that, and therefore siman zoraita. Where I said la maybe tamar edim. That's my different proof. And we do not testify regarding a corpse. We had this recently with the tragedy in Israel. To identify a corpse, to allow the woman to be remarried and not become an aguna. We don't testify based on the face, including the nose. You have to have a substantial visual of the face with the nose. Even though there are simanim on his body and on his garments, we see from here that because you need edim on his face and his nose, the siman and we say that siman does not work on his body or his garments, proves siman is not doraita. Someone says, no, Amri, gufo da aruch the goots. No, maybe when we said siman doesn't work is when he's saying he was tall or short. That's not a good siman because a lot of people are tall and short. Like me, I'm a very tall guy. Kelav, but regarding kelim garments, the hashin and the sheila, we're worried also garments we don't want to use because also people might borrow someone else's items, even if it's someone else's item that you see the corpse was wearing. That's not a good siman because maybe he was using it. He was borrowing it or stole it. Okay, if you're worried about borrowing, how do you return a donkey with siman like we said earlier? Maybe the bad donkey owner borrowed it. Amri ukav lo ukava. People don't lend out saddles because it hurts their donkeys. So basically, the saddles would mold and become comfortable to that donkey, and therefore you can't lend out your donkey's saddle to the next donkey because it would hurt that other donkey. Even a bit different answer. Kilab regarding garments, he wasn't even giving good simanim. He didn't even say it had his name on it. Rather, he just said, "Oh, it was a red shirt." It's not proof. I'll explain a different case. If a shliach was trying to deliver a get, lost it, and then he found it either tied to other documents, tied to a money bag or a purse or a ring, a signet ring. It's very important that it's that. We'll see why. Or he found it amongst his garments. I feel it was even a long time past. Kasher, it's kasher. We don't have to assume that it's a different get that he found. Basically, you're worried that borrowing. Maybe if he found it with a wallet, he borrowed. Maybe it's a borrowed wallet. Who says that it's his wallet? Maybe it's someone else's wallet that had a get inside. We're worried about borrowing. The Gemara says no. Amri technicality. People don't lend out money bags or purses or signet rings. People don't lend out money bags or purses because of superstitions, right? You might transfer your mazal to that guy. People don't lend out signet rings because the borrower can copy it and then use it to falsify stuff. So therefore, these items are specifically in a separate category that we're not suspecting for borrowing, but in general we do suspect for borrowing. So let's say 1 second. Let's say there's a based off this. Regarding a corpse again, a person Edim can testify regarding a wart on the body that is recognized in the corpse. Yeah, he had a wart on his finger. I know the guy. But says it is sufficient testifying the wart. My lab helping moving me. This is machoket. The Tarakama Savar Siman Dranan. The Lazaban Hamar Savar Siman Director, Machoket, whether or not you hold it, Siman Zoret Drabanan. Whereas Amar Ravad, the Kula Amar really know. Everybody agrees Siman Zoret Director. The question is whether or not you hold, interesting concept, people who were born at the same time, same constellation, same mazal, do they have identical warts? All right, so people born in the same exact second, even across the world, they'll have the same identifying skin tags. More of a shuma one opinion hold that it does, and therefore it's not a good siman. More of our shuma identical wart is not common, and therefore you can use it for a siman. People then a different answer for why they argue. The kula amashima really there's no such thing as identical warts. Whether or not they hold that these skin things change color after death. And therefore, more so according to opinion holds that it doesn't work because it changes after death. And therefore, if he says you recognize it, you're recognizing something that's different. More so opinion holds that it does not change, and therefore, if you recognize it, it's good enough. Even a different answer. The kula amashima really it doesn't change. Whether or not you hold a word is considered a good enough siman. Is that a solid siman or not? More so, Shuman Siman Mugaku, one of hold that the Shuma, the word is a good one, and therefore you can allow her to remarry based off of it. But more so, another opinion holds Shuman La Siman Mugaku is not a good Siman. Therefore, it's not good enough to make her remarry. Marava, if you hold Siman La Doraita, if you hold it's not Doraita, how do you return someone's item back? If you hold the Siman La Doraita, if you find something, how do you return it based off the Siman? That's not fair. Right, it says the we say no. The reason why we allow siman is because when the guy finds something, is I want to return it to this guy based off of siman because if I lose something, I want to retrieve my item off of siman. Therefore, I accept the siman. The where it says okay, so because you wanted the favor to be returned to you, because you want the same thing served to you, it doesn't give you the right to give up an item, the owner's item via a siman if that's not good enough. It's not sufficient evidence. So really say no. The owner's preference is to allow a siman to pick up his item. Because to provide a siman to pick up things. Why made the other that he doesn't have it? No one knows that he owned this jar. But he's telling himself, I know my jar very well. I'm the only one who can identify it like only I can. And therefore, he wants to identify his jar. And therefore, that's how you're able to give up a lost item with a siman. Someone found 3 documents, right? We had this much earlier. Someone found 3 documents from one person who borrowed from 3 different people. They should give it back to the borrower because they belong to him. If you found 3 documents of 3 people borrowed from one person, you return to the lender. The concept of the guy wants you to return it because it's good for him. That doesn't apply over here because the borrower in this case doesn't want this lender to get the documents back because that will make him have to pay back. Over there, it's not based off simanim, it's not based off anything else. That's just logic. It's common sense. Because why? Why are we giving it back in that case? Not because of whether or not your preference, but rather, in the case where one guy borrowed from 3, you give it to the borrower, they got below shichi because if all 3 documents had the same borrower, it's obviously his. And therefore, it wouldn't be in the lender's possession. Therefore, we logically assume it came from the borrower. Also, in the other case, 3 people borrowed from one guy, you give it to the lender, because it doesn't make sense to be in the borrower's possession, and it would make sense in the lender's possession. Another question. If someone found a roll of documents or a bundle of documents, how do you should return it? In that case, also, it doesn't make sense. The guy doesn't want it to get returned in that scenario. That the concept of returning item based off of siman, based off of preference, does not apply there because he doesn't want the item to get returned to the lender. Really, it is doraita. The pasuk says, "The item shall remain to you until he reaches out." Same thing as earlier. We mean you're going to give it to the guy before he asks for it. Rather, you're checking if he's a scammer or not. And la bisimanin must be talking about with simanin. Therefore, we could say that is doraita, which is seemingly interesting because right earlier we said the same exact format, and we said that's not a good proof that it's doraita. But now we're saying this is our only option. Now we're going to go to Rava. Rava says, if you assume that siman is the raita, the Gemara says, 1 second, assume, you just said that it was the raita. He says, 1 second, okay, I'm not 100% sure because they could answer what we said earlier. He's like, okay, let's say, assuming that it is the raita, simanin yaniyah. Let's say you have one guy bringing a siman, another guy bringing a siman, you leave it until the Navi comes and until someone else brings better proof. Someone brings the siman and someone brings edim on the item, you give it to the guy who brought the edim. Someone brings a siman, other guy brings a siman, and a single witness. The single witness doesn't count. And you leave it out. If you have witnesses that the guy was weaving it and the other guy witnesses that the garment fell from him, if you give it to the guy who fell from, because you could say that the weaver guy sold it to him, fell from someone else. If you have one guy gave the measurement of the length and the width, and one guy gave the width, the guy give it to the guy who identified the length. Because the width might be more easier to identify with your eyes, but not the length. Next case, you can't exactly gauge the length. Okay, therefore the length is better than width. If someone gave the length and width, and the other guy gave the length and thickness, you have to give the guy with length and width. Someone gave the length and width, and the other guy gave the weight. You give it to the weight guy because that's more knowledge. And when we said earlier, the guy gave the thickness. That's like identifying like the right angle, how long it was from one side to the next. Basically, you're giving it to the guy who has more info on it, more detailed info. Let's say a case of a get. Like each guy gives a siman to the get. You give it to her because he makes sense. He knows the get because he wrote it. But the fact that she knows it must be she got it. What did she identify it? Either with that about the length and width. She saw it and was able to guess. If she identified a hole in a certain letter, that you can't see just glancing at it. Therefore, we know it's hers. If they each say the marks of a siman of a stitching, you give it to her because she knows it. A color, but she saw it. Rather, she said the length of the stitching. He said that it was found in like a skin, like a bag. She said it was found in a bag. Nothing gives to him because because she knows that he keeps everything in bags, and she won't keep it in a bag because she wants to keep it safe. No Mishnah. But how long does the person have to announce the lost item that he found? Until the neighbors know about it. The mayor holds. We'll explain what that means in the Gemara. Everything says 3 Chagim, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. After the last holiday, Shiva Yamim wait 7 days because the guy of lost object can go home, check if he has it, which takes 3 days. He has another 3 days to come back. To announce that he lost it, and then he can identify it. So we give the 3 Chagim plus 7 days.